All right, for factoring, we use the box method. Okay, some classes use different methods. Box is one way. No matter what method you use, you always start by multiplying a times c. What does a times c mean? A quadratic is written in this format, where a is the coefficient of the squared part, c is the constant. So we multiply whatever's in front of x squared times the constant. 1 times negative 24 gives us negative 24. That's what we're making a list of factors for. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Now, because this is a negative 24, we know one of these has to be negative. Whatever sign b has is the sign of the bigger factor. So I'm going to make all of these negative. Positive 1 times negative 24 gives me negative 24. Positive 2 times negative 12 gives me negative 24, and so on. I pick the pair that adds up to b. So negative 6 and positive 4 add up to negative 2. Those two go in my box. First term goes in my box. Because these together make negative 2, they go in the box. And the last term, the c, goes in the box. And then I look for my GCFs of each row and column. Okay, we've done this a bunch of times. So we're going to do a few more. I multiply a times c, I get 6. So I'm making my list for 6. These are the numbers I can multiply to get 6. This is a positive 6, and it says my bigger factor's positive. So I know these are positive. The only way to get a positive is to either do a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. Since I knew b was positive, they're both positive. I pick the pair that adds up to 7, 1 and 6. So this means the same thing as 1x plus 6x. I can replace the 7x with 1x and 6x. These four pieces are what goes in my box. Okay, what goes in my box? The first term goes here, second term, third term, fourth term. First term always has to go in the upper left. Last term always has to go in the bottom right. The other two can be switched around. Now we do GCFs. So if I look at my first row, what's the GCF for that first row? All they have in common is an X. If I do my GCF for the first column, they have a 2 and an X in common. Okay. If I do my GCF for my second column, the only thing they have in common is a 1. So that's the GCF. If I do my GCF for the bottom row, they have 3 in common. Because this is positive and this is positive, they're pluses. So it's going to be 2x plus 1 and x plus 3. Okay, those are my factors. If I wanted to check my work, I multiply these together. 2x squared plus 6x plus 1x plus 3. 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. This matches this. That's my goal, that they match each other. Alright, number 8. I multiply these together, I get negative 10. So what multiplies to 10? 1 and 10, 2 and 5. It's a negative 10. So one of these has to be negative. This says my bigger one is positive. So if my bigger one's positive and one of them has to be negative, my little one's negative. I'm picking this pair because that's the pair that makes 3. This is the same thing as if I write out this with all 4 terms because these together make 3. So I put those terms in my box. First term, second term, third term, last term. GCF of my first column is 5x. GCF of my second column is just a 1. If I'm not 100% sure if it's a positive 1 or a negative 1, I can wait to the end to figure that out. But I know it's a 1. Okay. This row is a 2x, and this row is just a 1. Now that positive negative thing, when I multiply these two numbers together, I should get 10. 2 times 5 is 10. X times x is x squared. That's good. When I multiply this number and this number together, I should get this box because that's where those meet up. 1 times 5x is 5x. That's good. This box should be this one and this one, but I'm not getting the right number. 2 times 1 is positive 2, and this says negative 2. So that means this 1 was supposed to be a negative. And then 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, and I'm good. So my factors are 5x minus 1 and 2x plus 1. Next, we got 12. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. It's a positive 12. So that means they're either both positives or they're both negatives. This tells me my bigger sign is negative. So then everything's negative. Which pair makes negative 8? Negative 2 and negative 6. So in my box, now I'm starting to skip some steps because we should be getting the hang of this. 4x squared minus 2x minus 6x and 3. GCF 2x, GCF 1. GCF 2x, GCF 3. My signs are messed up because if I do 3 times 2, I get positive 6. So this has to be a negative. If I do negative 3 times 1, I get negative 3. So this one must also be negative. 2x minus 1, 2x minus 3. And then our last one, when we multiply, we get negative 8. So 1 and 8, 2 and 4. This tells me the bigger side is negative. If they multiply to make a negative number, it's got to be a positive and a negative. So I'm going to pick this pair because together they make negative 7. So in my box, first term, second term, third term, last term. GCF 4x, GCF 1. GCF for the row is x. GCF for that row is 2. Now I have to check my signs. 2 times 4 is positive 8, so this needs to become a minus. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, so that one's good. And x times 1 is 1x. So now my factors are 4x plus 1, since that's a positive 1, and x minus 2.